Hi there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for your patience. My name is Carleen Spry. I'm the awards administrator for the Golden Crown Literary Awards, and I want to welcome you to the first ever series of Goldie Finalist Spotlights. Now, for those of you who are new to the Golden Crown Literary Society, the GCLS recognizes and rewards quality literary works about women who love women, and we provide learning opportunities, encouragement, and assistance to new and established writers. We have a highly respected writing academy, an annual gathering of hundreds of readers, writers, publishers, and editors. It's our annual conference. And we have a monthly GCLS members only online book club. So we invite you to learn more about the GCLS and perhaps become a member by visiting our website at goldencrown.org. A few quick housekeeping things. We will have some time at the end of this session for Q&A. So we'll try to get to as many questions as possible. Use the Q&A box in Zoom to submit your questions. If you run into technical issues, log out of the room, log back into the room. That's usually going to solve most of the issues. Okay, so before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that our annual conference is coming up soon. So beginning on July 9th, we will have some great programming on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays throughout July. We will have masterclasses, presentations, and panels, as well as more author spotlights. Yay! More authors reading from their novels, and they'll likely read from upcoming releases or works in progress. Emma Donoghue will be discussing her latest novel, The Pull of the Stars, on July 11th, so that's something not to miss. If you're not familiar with who Emma Donoghue is, she wrote Room. There you go. And of course, we will wrap up the conference with the Goldie Awards ceremony on Saturday, July 31st at 4 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to check out everything on our website. Consider joining us. Go to goldencrown.org and click on the big red conference ribbon on that homepage. Okay? All right. Fabulous. So let's get started. Let me introduce our authors today. Lola Keeley will be reading from A Roll in the Hay, which is a finalist in the Contemporary Romance Short Novels category. And Fiona Riley will be reading from her novella, A Christmas Miracle, which can be found in All I Want for Christmas, which is a finalist in fiction anthologies and collections. And Anna Burke will be reading from her romantic blend and Anne Bannon finalist novel, Nottingham, The True Story of Robin Hood. So there are authors. Look at all their happy, smiling faces. Yay, team. So now let's go ahead and turn things over to Lola. Lola, unmute yourself. You've got the floor.
Okay, welcome. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming to see us on a Saturday afternoon or morning, as the case may be for some of us. As we mentioned, A Roll in the Hay is very fortunate to be nominated this year, so I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the Scottish countryside and Tess and Susanna, who are our romantic leads in A Roll in the Hay. Okay, move to the country, they said. Friendly people, beautiful animals, and rolling green fields as far as the eye can see. That was the promise in the brochures, on the websites, and in the welcoming words of everyone Tess Robinson had unveiled her grand plan to. She'd spent the past 2 months as a walking, talking advertisement for the excellent life choice of leaving the big city and starting fresh in the bucolic Scottish countryside. It made for the sort of heartwarming, inspirational story where Julia Roberts might play her in the film. Or at least she would have 15 years earlier. Except the countryside wasn't supposed to be a dirt track with more holes in it than Swiss cheese. It cut through a field that was neither rolling nor green, but distinctly brown and strewn with the occasional empty lager can or discarded plastic bag. The smell of manure was hanging on the breeze, and the only resident near the field to provide local charm was a geriatric sheep that kept bumping into the fence. You have reached your destination, the car's navigation system announced. Checking her phone, Tess cursed under her breath at the predictable lack of signal. Welcome back to the countryside. As she fumbled in the glove compartment for the atlas she hoped was still there, Tess couldn't help wondering if she'd made a huge, life-changing mistake in leaving London. She blew her hair out of her eyes each time it got in her line of sight, doing nothing to improve her bubbling irritation. As the icing on the cake, the rain started coming down in sheets, reducing the world to a grey, streaky mess that barely extended a few feet beyond her windscreen. The map didn't help much at all. Her best bet would be turning around somehow and getting back to the nearest real road. Easier said than done, given the track was narrow as hell, with piled stone walls on either side. The car was practically touching them just sitting there. Turning around, even in a 15-point turn, seemed preferable to carrying on down the marshy fields and ending up stuck in the mud. Tess decided to get the hell out of there. She missed her zippy little Mini that she'd used to get around London, not that she'd driven much in the city. That faithful little car had been traded in when she invested in this hulking SUV that was supposed to handle every situation. But there didn't appear to be a button or a Bluetooth command for undoing bad navigation. Waffles, pal. I can't believe it, but I think I'm lost. And we're only about 30 miles from where I grew up. She turned around to where her gorgeous golden Labrador was staring at her from his travel crate, his usual morose expression exaggerated by his temporary confinement. Don't worry, as soon as I find the right road, we're getting out to stretch our legs. Knock, knock, knock. Tess jumped at the sound, her seatbelt dug into the side of her neck. The fist rapping on the driver's side window seemed like it was going to come through the glass. Tess saw a looming shape with a dark hood, the rain streaking too fast for a clear view. Her heart kick-started a new, frantic beat, but she took a deep breath and forced herself to stay calm. A glance in the rear view confirmed a proper country Land Rover had appeared behind her. She'd been so focused on Waffles, she hadn't noticed anyone approaching the car. As she slid her window down, Tess was greeted not with the gnarly ancient farmer that she expected, but a blonde woman her own age, or maybe a little older, using her barber wax jacket like a personal tarpaulin to keep the rain off. Long, with those blown out curls that somehow always seemed to fall into place. Even in the middle of nowhere, she looked like someone who just stepped out of a shampoo advert. I'm sorry, Tess began. Never mind sorry. Posh then. English. Looked it as much as she sounded it. The sort of type that would chase a teenage Tess and her friends off her land. Can you get your impractical toy of a car out of the road? Just go forward. There's a wider pot in 100 yards where you can turn. Right, yeah. Tess gunned the engine before wondering when exactly this woman got the right to tell her to do anything. You know, I really was just getting my bearings. I wouldn't have been here a minute longer, so you can just get back in your car and you're on my land and I'd like you not to be, Blondie snapped. Some things really didn't change when it comes to the landowning snobs in this part of the world. I've already been delayed this afternoon and I have appointments yet to attend, urgent ones. So do move along, otherwise I'll be shunting you through one of those dry stone walls to make room. Charming, absolutely charming. Just went to show that nice clothes and pretty hair and perfect makeup didn't make a lady, even one who could technically be described as attractive, apart from her attitude, anyway. No way, not happening. Tess didn't want to speculate on exactly how badly she needed to get some action if she was looking at road rage as a potential dating opportunity. Well, came the impatient demand. Waffles, bless his protective instincts, barked at the tone. The woman glanced to the back of Tess's car. Have you got a dog in there? Poor mutt. Yes, I have, as it happens, Tess said. And he's a retired guide dog for your information, not some mutt. Not that it would matter if he were. Waffles added his own bellowing bark, as if proudly agreeing. That at least got Blondie to step back from the open window, striding back to her car like the world was depending on her. Right, better to get on and get out of the way. Rolling down the road in second gear, Tess peered through the rain. Sure enough, there was a widening where the walls disappeared. Pulling over to the left, she waited as Lady Snooty whizzed past in her Land Rover. Not exactly a battered farmer's model, but she'd had the cheek to judge Tess's car. There was no wave or tooted horn in acknowledgement, just the roar of a powerful engine and the spit of gravel. Turning back in the direction she came, Tess shook her head. Her car would be just fine, and it wasn't a toy. Edging back towards the main road, she could see where she went wrong. It was just a rookie mistake, one that could have been avoided if she'd stuck around the area long enough to learn to drive. Now, 20 years later, here she was, moving her whole life back, all to go into business with her best friend. And yeah, the next bit's a little bit too spoilery, so I'm just going to leave it there. And that's our meet cute or meet angry for a roll in the hay.
Outstanding. Yay, team. Okay, let's move on now to Fiona.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Fiona Riley, and I write contemporary lesbian romance with Bold Strokes Books. Today, I'm going to be reading from a Christmas novella collection called All I Want for Christmas, and my story in it is called A Christmas Miracle. So where we're going to start is the main characters are Mira Donahue, who is a real-life Grinch. She hates Christmas, and Courtney Rivers, who loves Christmas with a passion. And she is at the Mirage Bar, which is owned by Mira. Mira Donahue owns the bar. And Courtney is there to book a buyout for her holiday party. Courtney's been dealing with somebody else, but they went on maternity leave. So today she's meeting Mira for the first time. She doesn't know her. She's never met her before. So she got to the bar early because she's a little nervous and she's anxious and really wants to do well with this buyout. She has a promotion hedging on her success of throwing this party. So she's there early and she's been engaging with the bartender, Tegan, when somebody who's been working behind the bar that she finds very attractive and had told Tegan that she's attracted to comes over. And she has been calling this woman McHotlips in her brain and has, because she doesn't have a name for her. So that's where we're going to start today. McHotlips came over and picked up her tab. Can I get you another? Her voice was like velvet. Courtney was sure she'd take anything this woman offered her. Another what? She said, staring at the full lips in front of her. What had come over her? Drink? She motioned to the glass Courtney hadn't realized she drained. I probably shouldn't. I'm meeting someone soon. Courtney was only vaguely aware of the reason she was here today. Because if flirting with this woman wasn't the true reason why she was here, then the day seemed wasted. McHotlips checked the receipt in the empty glass that Tegan had left on the inner edge of the bar. Looks like you were having a mocktail. Let me make you another on the house, just so you don't get thirsty before whatever it is you have planned. Okay, Courtney agreed, largely because McHotlips had already taken her glass and replaced it with a fresh one. Any requests? McHotlips asked. Something festive, Courtney replied, though something told her anything this woman made her would be delightful. I've got just the thing. She winked, and Courtney felt herself swoon. Courtney watched as she expertly moved behind the bar and around Tegan, who seemed engrossed in her own cocktail-making endeavor. After a few moments, McHotlips placed an elegant-looking cocktail in front of her. Seeds of some sort floated on the carbonated bubbles in the deep red drink. Courtney felt herself squeal internally with delight. It was beautiful. What is it? She asked. A virgin version of our pomegranate royale, which normally contains pomegranate liqueur, champagne, and pomegranate seeds to add some texture to the drink. It's very popular this time of year. McHotlips was leaning on the bar top again. The cuff of her right sleeve appeared to have rolled down from making Courtney's drink. It looks wonderful. Thank you. Courtney gave in to her desire to fix the wayward sleeve and touch the gorgeous, charming bartender. She carefully rolled the end of the shirt sleeve and tucked the fabric into itself, securing it on the other side. Try it. McHotlips placed her hand on the one Courtney still had on her forearm. She gave it a gentle squeeze, and Courtney let her hand linger there for a moment before returning to her glass. Courtney sipped the drink, but held the bartender's gaze. This was fantastic, very festive, exactly the type of thing she would like to have at her company's party. Shit, the meeting. You don't like it? The warm eyes looked concerned. No, yes, I do. It's incredible. Courtney shook her head to clear the lust fog she was in. I seem to keep forgetting about the meeting I'm supposed to be having, and I blame you. Sorry, not sorry. The wicked grin that accompanied the reply did little to dissipate Courtney's newfound infatuation with this woman. After a pause, the woman asked, is the meeting for work or pleasure? Work, though the only thing on Courtney's mind at the moment was pleasure. Work can wait, she said in that same sexy tone from earlier. I have to admit, I'm glad this isn't a pleasure meeting. Why is that? Courtney traced the rim of her glass, and McHotlips' eyes followed the movement with her fingers. I'm not ready to have to fight anyone off for your attention. Those pink lips parted, and Courtney wanted to taste them. Oh, and do you think you have my full attention now? Courtney realized she was leaning in as she spoke. She felt pulled to this woman. Oh, I know I do, and I like it that way. McHotlips was killing her. You know, it occurs to me that I don't know your name yet, but you know mine because Tegan told you I thought you were cute. And though I'm happy to keep using the name that I've made up in my head for you, I'd like to know your actual name. So you can scream it later? Courtney felt her jaw drop and her sex clench. McHotlips reached across the bar and took Courtney's free hand. I'm kidding. Courtney shifted in her seat. Too bad. McHotlips surveyed her curiously while still holding her hand. What's the name you've been calling me in your head? The formal or the informal name? Courtney turned her hand over and stifled a shudder as McHotlips traced lazy circles on her palm. Let's start with the informal name. The circles continued. McHotlips. Courtney would have been embarrassed by her admission, but she was too entranced by this woman's touch to care. She laughed that sexy laugh from before. And the formal name? Lady McHotlips. She stopped her ministrations to briefly squeeze Courtney's hand before pulling back. I hope my lips are worthy of such a regal title. They appear to be. Courtney made no attempt to look anywhere other than the full pink lips before her. Maybe we should do a test just to confirm your assumptions. She leaned forward just a bit, and Courtney wondered how quickly she could vault over this bar. First, a name, please. Courtney bit her bottom lip to keep herself in her seat. Are you sure? Kissing a stranger seems like something really sexy right now. She leaned closer still. Courtney squeezed her thighs together. This woman's confidence and swagger were impressive, and Courtney certainly wanted to kiss her, among other things. And if we do, and it's as good as I imagine it will be, what will I moan into your ear when I ask for more? She asked, fishing for a name again. Please would probably do the trick. McHotlips answered, and Courtney laughed because she'd walked right into that one. I have excellent manners, Courtney said. I might even say thank you afterwards. After what, exactly? Courtney had meant kissing, but the conversation seemed to be taking a different tone. She didn't hate it. Whatever, she said with a playful shrug. She was rewarded with a broad smile. This is getting better and better. So, she motioned across the bar. You are? Mira, she replied as she took Courtney's hand. And it's very, very nice to meet you. Mira. What a beautiful name to fit such a gorgeous woman who was looking at her like there was no one else in this entire room. And Courtney was all for it. Mira, Mira. Why did that sound so familiar? Oh, it dawned on her. She pulled her hand back out of reflex. Shit, you're Mira. As in Mira Donahue, that Mira. Mira leaned back and crossed her arms over her chest. Are you going to serve me with a subpoena or something? No, what? No, Courtney shook her head. I'm supposed to be meeting with you right now. We were kind of in a meeting, don't you think? Mira teased, and she momentarily forgot why she'd freaked out. But of course, the most beautiful woman in the room, who was flirting with her, would be the point person for the very important work event. This was cruel. Courtney huffed. I hate my life. Mira gave her a confused look. I'm Courtney, she tried. I gathered that, Mira replied, not picking up on what she was saying. Courtney Rivers, your 3:00 meeting for the Buxby Holidays buyout party. And you got to read the book, find out what happens next.
Yay! Wild applause, wild applause. Everybody here is applauding, but you guys can't hear it, so I'm doing it for them. Okay, excellent. And now let's hear from Anna Burke.
All right. Hello, and thank you all for coming this morning or evening or whatever time it is for you. So I'll be reading from Nottingham, which, as the title suggests, is a retelling of the legend of Robin Hood, but very, very queer. So in this section, Marion and Robin have just met for the first time. Marion was just stung by a hive of hornets and has fallen off her horse in the middle of Sherwood Forest, where Robin and Little John have stumbled upon her. Marion looked closer at the boy, trying to figure out where she had seen him before. The memory shimmered in the flames just out of reach. A flash of hazel, defiance, eyes locking across a crowded Nottingham street. Speaking to the gentry, said John, gesticulating with the goose wing, we'd be much obliged if you didn't mention that we found you. You don't want a reward? Marion asked. The two exchanged pointed glances at her words. Reward us with your silence, lady, said the youth, as well as the pleasure of your company. There, that look, wary beneath the sparkle of mischief. She cradled the drumstick in her hand, the meat momentarily forgotten. She'd seen that look before, and it hadn't belonged to a youth. Those smooth cheeks had never felt the prick of a beard, and there were women at court who would kill for eyes that shape and color. Her heart pounded a little faster. This youth was a girl. I won't say anything, Marion said, questions bubbling up as her rescuer smiled. She wanted to ask the stranger her name, and she wanted to ask what had driven her into the woods and what she was hiding from, for she was certainly hiding. Instead, Marion took another bite of the goose and tried to wrap her throbbing head around her situation. She was the daughter of the sheriff of Nottingham. Her father made his living hunting down men and women like her rescuers, and Marion knew exactly how far his gratitude would extend for their intervention on her behalf. He'd thank them as he hanged them. So you're what, a lady's handmaid? Asked the girl. Yes. She didn't bother correcting the assumption to include her title or explaining that she was more companion than handmaid at this point. The luxury of anonymity, of no one looking at her sideways because she was the sheriff's daughter, was refreshing. And what exactly do you do? I see to her needs, said Marion. I've always wondered what needs a lady has that the rest of us don't, said the woman. The man watched the exchange with a frown that twitched upward periodically as if he was trying to contain a smile. I mostly keep her company. She loves hunting, so I ride out with her and her hawks, and I fetch her whatever she needs, and I help her dress. What would you do if you had someone to help you dress? The woman asked the man. Tell him to kiss my ass while he's at it. It's a good position, said Marion, annoyed at their ribbing. I'm not saying it's not. The outlaw sat with her hands clasped loosely around her knees, and she turned her eyes back to Marion. Marion shivered slightly as they passed over her. It just seems like a waste of a good pair of hands. I spin and sew, said Marion. I am not idle. Let's see your hand then. The outlaw reached out and gently pried her fist from his grip on the cloak. Marion let her open her fingers, her chest suddenly tight as the woman's sun-browned skin brushed hers. The contrast between her smooth palm and the outlaw's calloused one proved the woman's point. Still, she felt a strange reluctance to pull her hand back into the safety of the cloak. The gentle rasp of the outlaw's touch lulled her further into the warm circle of the fire, and she found she couldn't take her eyes off the other woman's face. You must be tired, the man said, interrupting her trance. Get some rest. We'll keep a watch and no one will harm you. Marion lay down by the fire. The warmth of the flames eased the ache of the stings, and she closed her eyes. The outlaws didn't speak for a long time. She had almost drifted off to sleep when the woman spoke softly, as if she didn't wish Marion to hear. I couldn't just leave her, John. I know. You didn't leave me behind. You weren't a lady's maid. You wouldn't have helped me if I had been. I might have tossed you over my shoulder and sold you back to your father. Marion opened her eyes a sliver in time to see the woman shake her head. She'll be off our hands tomorrow. The fire cast the outlaw's face in shadow. Good. What's that supposed to mean? You've made yourself far too memorable already for someone who's supposed to be dead, and stop flirting with her. Marion turned the words over as she drifted off, wondering how she was going to explain any of this to Lady Emmeline, let alone her father. A night in the woods wasn't the sort of thing her father would want to hear about. Anything could happen in the woods. Anything at all. Stop flirting with her, the man had said. A pair of hazel eyes drifted through her dreams, and the faint rumble of thunder vibrated through the earth beneath her as she slept. Thank you.
Yay! Okay, let's everybody come back on. Turn on your cameras. Let's all see the smiling faces. And now for the truly scary part. Okay. Khaleesi has nothing on me. That's all I'm saying. So thanks the three of you for such great readings. I really appreciate it. Thanks for taking your time. Remember, if you've got questions, throw them in that Q&A. We'll get to them. I've got some questions of my own that I'm going to be asking, but we will also there's a question for me that I'm not even going to bother answering. So great readings. And my first question for each of you, and Anna, we're going to start with you. My first question is, so what inspired you to write this story? Where did that come from?
I'm a huge nerd, Carly. I don't think there's any. I don't know. So the Disney Robin Hood was always my favorite movie, one of them. And I was that kid who was always running around in the woods. I would make my own bows. I was so cool. I was so popular in high school. You can probably tell. So this was always a story that I wanted to tell. I loved Robin McKinley's retelling. And I just, one day thought I would try my own. And it took about 5 years for that to turn
Is-
into books.
Is that all? 5 years?
Just
Wha-
the fact, yeah.
why so long? Was it just because was it a struggle to write it, or is it because you had so many ideas that you were writing like 15 books at a time?
So this was the first full-length novel I ever attempted. So I had to write, I don't know, four or five like full, totally different drafts before I finally landed on, the story that I wanted to tell. So I had written a couple drafts and then I put it aside for a while, wrote 2 other books, and then came back to it. So by the time I came back to it, I was a much stronger writer. I knew 1 or 2 things about plot, books need one, for instance. So I
Allegedly, yeah.
allegedly, yeah. So that's why.
Okay,
I
great.
wish I'd had Lola do my reading.
Yeah, so perfect segue. Lola, how about you? Where did the idea for this particular book come from?
Again, from nerding roots, I think that's going to be a common thread for us. I think the dynamic of the pairing kind of puts me a little bit in mind of Vanity from Emmerdale, which is quite obscure as fandom, even as fandom goes. But it's a British soap that's been running for a million years, and they finally got a full, sapphic pairing on there. So that kind of vibe was there. But the most important thing was I just wanted to write a book set in Scotland, because I was up to number 4 and I hadn't been to my home country yet. So it helps as well that my publishers are huge fans of Scotland, so they were like, yay. And yeah, it was just the right time and place to put that story together with that location. And then I think the fun part, the thing that really made it start taking part as a book, was starting to populate the village, the small town, and seeing who I wanted to have. People have got such an old-fashioned idea of small towns sometimes, and having grown up in one and come back to one, I think it's important to show things have changed and are keeping changing. So that was the real driving force behind it.
Great, Fiona.
So I wrote a Christmas novel, a novella. So, here we are almost in June. I was actually in the middle of writing my current series, The High Stakes Romance. So I was contracted for a 3-book series, and I had finished the first and was writing the second. And then I was approached by Sandy, who is in charge of some of the scheduling for Bold Strokes. And she said, hey, do you want to also squeeze in a novella? And foolishly, I agreed. And so this is where we are. So, I've never written a novella before. I've written a few short stories. I've written a couple quick eroticas, but nothing this short. My novels tend to be kind of long, not as long as Anna's book, which looks like it might be the Bible, but I average about 95 to 105,000 words. So this novella for me is 33,000 words, that was tight. So it was, it was a good palate cleanse. It was a really good reminder to be succinct. And I think I'll definitely move forward I'll try to do a novella every year, other year at least, because I think it's a good way to keep you from being too verbose like I am with this answer,
No. And actually that I want to follow up on that one, actually, since you brought it up. But I think it's an interesting question. And after Fiona answers, I'll open it to Lola and Anna, if you guys want to answer it too. How did you have to alter the way you wrote or thought about writing when it was like, it's a novella, not a novel?
Yeah. So, for me, I base a lot of my books in Boston. For me, Boston's a character. So I spend a lot of time building this background. And I think kind of what Lola was talking about, like populating the village, like getting those personalities in, that's a big part of my storytelling in all my books. There's a lot of side characters, there's best friends, there's quirky parents or whatever. And there wasn't time in this book to really do that in the novella. So I had to jump right into the characters, and you meet them sort of 3/4 of the way through their relationship and their life before they get together. And that was the harder part, right? Because when you're writing a novel, you have a chance to develop their insecurities or whomever they are. In this one, I only had 30,000 words. They had to meet, they had to kiss, they had to find out what their happy ever after was going to be, and then they had to wrap it up. So, that's about 10K, a major event. So, I think the nice part about it, and I felt very fortunate, is that the Mirage bar is a major staple in my high stakes romance. So the bar itself has its own personality and it is its own character. And you see it in the first book, second, and you'll see it in the third book. So it was really easy for me to jump off to add Mira, who the bar owner is, because she was in the first book and she'll be in the other 2 books of the series too. So I sort of cheated.
Valid, seems legit.
Totally.
Anna or Lola, do you have anything to add to this discussion? I don't know how much either of you have written, like, novellas or short stories, and Anna has that look on her face. It's like, wait, less than 100,000 words? Doesn't compute.
She's heard of it. Maybe.
I actually love writing short stories and novellas now. I hated them previously, but just like Fiona said, when I finally bit the bullet and began to do it for my Patreon, I realized, it's fun, but it's also, it is a great lesson in how to write more succinctly and how to just kind of pare down the elements of story, and a lot of deleting.
Okay. Lola, how about you?
I'm just going to take this advice on board because I think at Ylva we're becoming notorious with a few of the authors and our publishing CEO, Astrid, is like, well, if you're not sure about the idea, why not try it as a novella? And I think she's done it to Jay, she's done it to Lee Winter, and she's just done it to me recently. So every single one of those novellas has ended up being a full-blown novel. So I don't know if I'll probably end up keeping that streak, or maybe will come up with something a bit shorter, but that's certainly a tentative plan for later in the year for me. So novella time.
Well, Fiona and Anna, now that you've written short stories, novellas, things like that, and you've gotten that experience and you've learned to enjoy it, Anna, do you find that that's now going to have an impact on your novel writing? Is that, or is it going to be one of those things where you go, ha, now I get to play, here I have to be succinct? Or do you think it'll have an influence? Either one of you, pop up.
I mean, that's a good question. For me, I think, I don't know, and maybe Anna's the same way. I don't know that I can tell a good story under 90,000 words, truthfully. The first book I wrote was like 86, and that was my first ever novel, and I've never really retreated from that number. I think if anything, I'm going to probably stick around that area. I think that's where I'm most comfortable with character development and side character development. All my books are connected by a character or so. So for me, that's important. I love the approach to the novella, and I will definitely do it again. But I don't think it's going to necessarily shorten my longer approach, although I'm sure some people at Bold Strokes would like that. I don't know that's going to make a big of a difference. It would probably maybe take off 5,000 words or so, but realistically, I'm hoping that most of the scenes in my books now are necessary and feel like they belong. So until I hear otherwise, no, it's going to be exactly what you said. I can play. I have to be more succinct over here.
Okay. Anna, how about you?
Yeah, that sounds pretty accurate. What I've found has happened is that I'll write a novella and then my brain's like, well, that could be a book too. So instead of having what I was hoping would happen with writing, more short stories and novellas, is I'd be able to get some of these, like, this infestation of stories out of my head. And so all that's happened is that I've gotten them out of my head and now they're growing. So I'm just like surrounded by monsters all the time. So, but I do think I don't know. I would love to hope that it will make me more succinct in some way, but I also like writing long books, so I don't know.
Yeah, and there's actually absolutely nothing wrong with that. There was no right or wrong answer to that question. It was just, what do you think?
Felt like it was a quiz.
Well, that's later.
We talk about book length a lot. I talked to Chris Bryant's a close friend of mine, and she writes a book that's probably about half the length of mine. I can't write shorter books. She can't write longer books. We talk about it all the time. It's just the way we write sentences. My sentences have 36 words. Her sentences have 3. Like, it's just the way it goes. I don't know that she can write more than 74,000 words. And I certainly can't write under 90. So, I mean, I'm with Anna on this one. I'm stuck. It's just the way we are.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, we can look at authors out there like Susan Maher, who, man, y'all are writing short novels compared to what she's writing.
There's some doorstops.
Yeah. She's like, it's like War and Peace has nothing on Susan Maher. So yeah, that's all good. So my next question then for you all is, okay, great. You've told us about this book. What's next? What's coming next for you? What are you working on? What's your next release? What? Lola, let's start with you.
Well, I have 2 books in the queue at the moment, off to various stages of editing and copy editing and people crying about my use of semicolons, which seems to be a big part of the process for some reason. You don't see it in the finished version, thankfully. So yeah, one is Presidential, which briefly came out last year, and then we had a bit of a sort of rights issue with that. So sorry, excuse my watch talking to me. So that one has been reworked and is off to be edited. And the other one is another bit of a sort of constitutional romance, which I'm desperate to make a genre. Only this time it's the other side of the pond, and instead of presidents and senators, we've got ourselves some royalty. So I know royalty and romance tend to go hand in hand quite often, and I just, you can't get enough queer takes on that really, and updating it. So those are my next 2 big projects.
Okay, great. Anna, how about you? What's coming down the pike for you?
Well, the sequel to my first novel, Compass Rose, comes out in July. I didn't kill anybody, really. So
that's so unlike you, Anna.
I'll just all the threats. I let them live. For now, there's one more book after this, so we'll see how long my mercy lasts. Then I'm working on the next book in the Seal Cove romance. That might come out in the winter, might come out in the spring. I'm not really sure yet. And then I'm also working on a novella. So again, not sure when that's going to come out, but I'm doing that with a collaboration with 2 other authors from Bywater. So.
And you're doing all of this simultaneously. Awesome. Okay. And Fiona.
I can't do all those things simultaneously. I can do one thing, and one thing is I'm finishing my series. So I have Bet Against Me was just nominated actually for a Goldie, and I read from that last week. And the sequel, or the second book in the series, not the sequel, the second book in the series just came out this month, and that's called Bet the Farm. And that's Lauren's book, and that's Lauren is the best friend to Trina in the first book. And I had just turned in yesterday the third book in the series, Beginner's Bet, which should be out in September. So the Bet series will be finished this year, a high stakes romance series, and it follows the luxury real estate firm that's fake. It's called Gamble and Associates. It takes place mostly in Boston. But this one, Bet the Farm, takes place in Maine at a dairy farm. Get excited, there's cows.
Excellent. Anna, there's a question here for you. How does teaching writing affect the way you write now?
Oh my goodness, I love teaching writing. Not just because it means that I get to nerd out about books and writing all the time, but I feel like thinking about writing and analyzing writing and working with my students has definitely made me a much better writer. And I'll be revising something for a student, or, talking about books, and then I'll realize like, oh, I just said something smart. I could use that, right? So it's like there's this disconnect where it's like I don't really feel like I'm generating anything intelligent. But then, yeah. So I don't know. I love it, and I really feel like there's a nice intersection for me. So.
Yeah, for folks out there who don't know, in addition to just kind of being a cool person, Anna is also the head of our writing academy. Woo! She runs our writing academy. So, yeah,
Anna's busy.
Tell you what, man, Tell you what. So yeah, so
Gonna
again,
have to
for
nap.
those of you who aren't as familiar with GCLS, go to our website, check it out, click on the button that says education, and check out our writing academy and what that has to offer too, because it is a highly respected program. And shout out to Finian Burnett for the work that she's done over the years to really create that awesome entity within the organization. So yay team. Okay. Yes, I know, Salem. Salem wanted me to mention that Anna also teaches creative writing at Emerson. So, yes, definitely. So, here's my next question then for you guys. And I'm starting with you. Roller skates or roller blades?
Neither. I would not. I have the coordination of a baby giraffe.
Oh, that's a lot of knees and legs.
Okay, so I guess a skateboard is out too.
I have enough difficulty walking on my 2 feet. I think I'll just stick to those.
Maybe
No
you
bicy-
should have asked shoes or barefoot. Start with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess bicycles are out too.
I like riding bicycles. I also like to look around a lot as I ride. So there's a lot of like, oh shit. These days I stick to walking.
Okay, great. Lola, how about you? Roller skates or rollerblades?
It's been a while, but rollerblades, that was very much my era when, as a kid / teen, when they first came in, and you can go so much faster.
Okay. And how did you feel about skateboards?
I fell off them a lot. I have the scars on my knees to prove it. Basically, I had no interest in skateboarding whatsoever until the day my brother got a skateboard, when suddenly it became the most important thing in my existence, as long as I got to take his skateboard off him, obviously. So yeah, that phase didn't last long, but it was very much a mean big sister phase of my turn.
Okay, great. Fiona, skates, blades.
Blades. I was cool in high school, so shock. But yeah, I like them a lot. I like to ride bikes. I did I did the skateboard thing briefly, but I played more sports than I had leisure time. So if I wasn't in sports or doing schoolwork, I wasn't at a skate park. I was in sports.
Okay, yeah. I grew up in San Diego, and so it was always great to like get a skateboard and on Christmas Day go outside and play with the skateboard, because my cousins couldn't do that in Chicago. Because
No,
Christmas
fair.
Day, yeah, that didn't quite work. But it was a great thing because my parents bought me the skateboard for Christmas, and my grandmother, hearing that my parents were buying me a skateboard for Christmas, I opened up a gift from her that was like a helmet, knee pads, elbow pads, the whole kit and caboodle. So
Bubble wrap, yeah.
my grandmother kind of felt that she was on top of things, and made sure I had all that protection. So again, people, if you have questions, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A. Got lots of time. I want to do something a little bit different. Well, we don't have lots of time, but we have time. I want to do something just a little bit different, and I want to open the Q&A to our wonderful authors. Do you have questions for your co-presenters? Has anything come up today that you have questions? No pressure. If you don't, just say, no, actually I don't. They're open books. I really don't want to know any more about them. But if you do, now's a chance.
I really want to know what's in the aquarium behind Anna Burke.
That's a good question.
Wouldn't you just?
It's the body of the last person who asked that. Yeah.
I know. I think I'll be living there.
Is it fish? Is it a water? Is it like an?
It's just my little office freshwater aquarium. We actually just got new populants a couple days ago, so there are a couple of angelfish and some little tiger barbs darting around.
Oh.
The barbs
I was hoping you were going to say snake, and I was looking, but
oh no, it's just mostly it's a receptacle for my
Plants.
Invasive plant.
Okay.
We have 2 more aquariums. This is like the reject.
This is the baby one. The big one in the garage has the Kraken. It's kind of awesome. Oh man. So okay, here's another question for you. If you had to if somebody were to come up to you and say, I'm gonna make a movie out of your book, who do you have playing your 2 main characters? Have you thought about this? Come on, you've thought about this? Anyone, whoever wants to jump up first.
I haven't technically for a role in the hay. I've changed my mind on casting for that, and I've heard a few good suggestions. I'm actually in the lucky / unusual position of I've actually been approached about the movie rights for one of my books. We didn't get as far as casting, but we did have some cool conversations. It's kind of it's out there. It's someone else's problem right now to try and sell the idea. So, there's obviously scope. There's a market out there somewhere starting to bubble up. Hopefully, so we can start seeing some faves. But that's actually a weird coincidence as well. That at about the same time as that happened, I moved over into TV writing. So I was kind of like, who's going to write this? Can I? No, I don't know. So but I think for me, for a role in the hay, sort of like an English Kate Blanchett is like my goal for Susanna, because she's just got that frosty, high cheekbone quality about her. And I don't know, I go back and forth for Tess because, she's kind of real to me. So I kind of can't see her as someone else playing her. I guess because she was like my first character I was in the head of for this book. So she exists already in my little brainscape.
Very valid. Very, very valid. Fiona or Anna, either of you want to hop in on this one?
Well, so I'm actually in a somewhat similar position. It's someone else's problem right now. But I think, I don't know, I'm really terrible with the names of actors and actresses, but I would love, like, if I were to cast, I think want like new people, right? Like, I don't know, I feel like there's this like new surge suddenly of queer content out there, and I love it. And I would love to see like upcoming new queer actors. I think that'd be awesome. Which is a great way to avoid answering the question.
But also very valid. Also very valid. Fiona, have you had thoughts about this?
For this, it's a novella. So for me, I mean, I think when I think of Mira Donahue, I think of Angie Harmon in Rizzoli and Isles, right? Like she's got an accent. She's kind of like, she's very pretty, but like you wouldn't mess with her. Like she'd probably break you, like she owns a bar. Like there's a lot of people that she has to rough up, toss out. Doesn't matter that she's pretty, she still has to handle you. So, and I think for me, I think Courtney Rivers, I just think of her as like Kristen Bell. Like she's like really flirty and frothy and like hilarious and like sings Christmas carols all year round and is like super into the holidays. And she's really silly, where Mira's kind of like more of a brooder. So
okay. All right.
That works.
Yeah, I like that. She's really pretty, but she could break you.
Oh yeah.
And you
she wears a leather jacket. She's got long hair. She'll like bust your ass. Like it's cool.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, we're getting close to that time. We don't have any questions in the queue. I think I am done with my questions for now. I don't have any more silly ones. I mean, if you pushed me, I could come up with them, but let's not put people through that kind of pain. So let me take this time to once again thank you very much for taking the time today to share your readings, your books with this wonderful audience. I do appreciate it. And y'all are shortlisted. You're Goldie finalists. Congratulations. Well done. Way to go. Awesome possum. Everyone, we're taking a break next weekend. There won't be finalist spotlights next weekend because book club is happening. So be sure to check out book club for those of you who are members. If you're not members, you can still check out book club, but then become a member so you can go to book club. And then we will be coming back on June 12th with more Goldie Finalist readings. Yay. And everybody be sure to check out the conference and join us at the conference. It's going to be, I think, a good time. So come play with us and be on the lookout for information about Albuquerque next year. In-person conference again. Hug City. It's going to be Hug City. There are going to be women-loving women literally all over Albuquerque because it's just going to be a hug fest. So again, once again, thank you all very, very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Good job. And everybody have a great, great, great day.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.